So up until now, our agent or hero character has had it pretty easy. And what I mean by that is he can explore this entire level, and besides these little pits that he can fall down, there's really nothing dangerous in this level. So we want to start creating some hazards. So to do that, we're actually going to add some lava to our scene here. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on the Media tab. And if you scroll down, you're going to see that you have a few frames here of this lava animation. And that's because this is an animation that we're going to be working with. But we only need this first frame to work with. So I'm going to click and drag and drop that on my Actor tab. And again, I'm going to make sure I drag and drop that on the All tag here. And we can see that that actor has been added to my actor bin. So I'll rename that as always. Lava sounds like an appropriate name. And what I want to do is drag and drop that into the scene. Make sure you don't drag it on top of any of the other actors in the scene, but in an empty area. And I'm just going to leave it next to my agent for now. That way I don't have to travel throughout the entire scene just to see how this is looking. And then once we're done tweaking this and have it set up exactly the way that we want, we can place it where we want it to be in the scene. So I'm just going to preview this to make sure everything's working inside my scene, which it is, and I have this static lava image. So the very first thing that we want to do to this lava is we want to animate it. So with lava selected here in our actor bin, and with the backstage open, we want to go ahead and type in the word animate. So I'll just click on that, and that adds in the animation behavior into our lava actor. Now we want to go back to the Media tab, and I'm going to select this lava underscore 001, hold the shift key and select lava underscore 004, and I'm going to drag all four of these images into this box here we see inside the animation behavior. Now we don't need to change anything now. You can of course tweak your frame rate or the speed of your animation if you like. You're going to keep loop selected, and you're not going to worry about restore actor when image is done. So let's go ahead and test this out. Now you can see we have a very simple animation for our lava. But when our actor or our agent comes in contact with lava, you can see nothing happens. So we want him to react when he actually hits the lava. So to do that, let's go ahead and jump into our agent. Now before I start creating any reactions when our agent comes in contact with the lava, I want to kind of minimize this workspace a little bit and clean this up. That's because when we start adding in some of those expressions and we call in this box, so if I go ahead and just open one of these up, you can see we have this expression box that we can open up that shows up down here. Sometimes it pops off or opens up off screen, and we don't want that. So a really good way to avoid that, and it's really important that you take this step now to clean up this workspace, is I want you to click on this button that says Group. So I'm going to click on that, and that's just going to create this empty group here. I'm just going to drag that to the top. And this isn't like a rule, it's essentially just like a container. And what's convenient about this is I can start dragging and dropping all of these different rules that I've created earlier. Into this container. That way I can close down the container and create new rules, but when I'm done creating those new rules, I of course can add them to this container and then close everything up. And it just keeps everything neat, and also when you're opening up that expression box, it doesn't show up off screen, which can happen when you have a lot of rules inside this backstage space. So again, back to getting our agent to react to the lava. Well, this is actually really simple to do. What we want to do is create a brand new rule. So again, I'll click the rule button. And I'm going to name this rule Contact with Lava. In this box here, I'll type in the word collision. Select that. And we, of course, want to select lava. So when our agent comes in contact with the lava, what do we want to happen? What we want to happen is we want to change the agent's image. So I'm just going to type in the word change, and you can see that we have change image behavior here. So I'll click on that. And what do we want to change this image to? Well, if you imported all of your artwork, which we covered in the very first video, if you open up this dropdown, you're going to see that we have this die image here. So we want our agent to essentially die when he comes in contact with the lava. So I'll just click on that. So very simple stuff. A rule that says contact with lava. So when we overlap and collide with the lava, go ahead and change the image. And let's test this out. So you can see my agent walks left and right, and then of course when we come in contact with the lava, we get this very surprised expression. Now that's working perfectly. The only problem is if I continue pushing the left and right key, our agent then goes back to normal, which is pretty impressive. I guess we have a superhero agent here that he can touch lava and then not die. So we want to essentially disable the controls that we set up, meaning that when our agent does come in contact with lava, he cannot move anymore. And to do this, we're going to create an attribute. So I'm going to back up. And what we want to do at this point is go down to this attribute area that we see here. And with the Game tab selected, we're going to click this plus button. And we're going to choose a text-based attribute. Now, if you're not familiar with creating attributes, don't worry, just follow along. Once we connect everything, everything will make sense. So when we click this text-based attribute, you can see a new attribute shows up here. We want to name this. You can name it pretty much anything that you want, it doesn't matter, but again, you just want to name things that are simple for you to understand. In this case, I'm just going to type in the word alive, ? And in this empty area here, I'm just going to double click, and that allows me to add a default value. So the default value for this attribute can be any word I want. It can be cat, dog, pink, blue, but again, I'm just going to name it something that makes sense to me. So by default, our agent is alive, so I'm just going to type in the word yes. So are you alive? Yes. Now what we want to happen is when our agent comes in contact with the lava, we want to change that attribute that we just created from yes to the word no. And that's actually really simple to do. All you need to do is click in this area and start typing in the word change. And we're going to do change attribute, which is the very first one we see here. So I'll just click on that. And what is the attribute that we want to change? Well, it's the one that we just created. So I'll click on this drop down. Again, we'll get this box here. And we'll click attributes, game, and then you can see that alive attribute is right there. So I'm just going to double click on that. So what do we want to change this alive attribute to when our agent comes in contact with the lava? We want to change it to no. Again, you can type in any word you want, but yes and no make a lot of sense to me. So now if I were to play this, when our agent actually does come in contact with the lava, that attribute is changed from yes to no. But you can see if I push the left and left and right arrows, our agent still can move. So what we need is to get the agent to pay attention to that attribute. And if that does change to the word no, then we disable the left and right arrows. So to do that, we're just going to close down this contact with lava. And I'm going to open up this group here again. And we created this movement rule earlier. We want to figure out a way to disable that movement when that attribute is changed to no. And that's actually simple to do. We want to create a brand new rule. So I'll click on this new rule. And I'm going to drag this up carefully so that it's sitting above that movement. And I'm actually going to rename this movement as well. And I want to basically type in the word attribute here. And I want to find that alive attribute that I created earlier by clicking on attributes, game, and the word alive, double click. And when this is set to yes, then what do we want to happen? Well, we want to allow this movement rule that we created earlier. So I'm going to carefully select that movement rule and drag and drop that into the do area. So again, let me explain what I did here. I created a brand new rule. I typed in the word attribute and selected that alive attribute and set it to the word yes. So when alive is set to yes, then we allow this movement to happen, which means if alive is set to anything but yes, then this movement rule won't be allowed to execute or happen. So let's test that out. So our agent can move freely, and when he comes in contact with the lava, now I'm pushing the left and right arrows on my keyboard, and our agent doesn't move anymore. So that's how we can go ahead and change that attribute and affect our main player. Now there's one last thing that I'm going to do, which is going to make this a little bit more interesting. And that's to get our agent to fade out. And the way that we can fade things in GameSalad is by changing their alpha. Now, if you're not familiar with what an alpha channel is, don't worry about that. Just know that an alpha channel affects the transparency of an image. So if an alpha channel is set to 1, then we see our agent 100%. If we turn his alpha channel to 0, then he becomes completely invisible. He'll still be there, but he'll be invisible. So let's go ahead and fade him out when he comes in contact with the lava. I'm just going to close down this movement. I'm going to go back to this contact with the lava and open that up. So far in this rule, we've said when you come in contact with the lava, go ahead and change the image to that kind of die expression, and also change the attribute alive to no. We want to add one more thing here. So I'm just going to type in the word interpolate in this box again. Select that. And what do we want to interpolate? Well, as I said earlier, we want to interpolate our agent's alpha. So the way that we find that is we're going to click on this drop-down. We're going to select Attributes. We're going to select Agent. We're going to select Color, and then double-click on the word alpha. And you can see we set this to, and by default it's already set to 0, which is exactly what we want. So we want to change the agent's alpha to 0, and then this 4 is the time in which it takes to do that. So 1 second sounds good to me. So let's go ahead and test that out. Our agent can move, and then when he comes in contact with the lava, he freezes, he has the expression, and of course he fades out, which is a perfect way to get our agent to, of course, be eliminated from the scene. So I know this was a long video, but just take the time to follow those steps. It's actually pretty simple to do each and every one. And as I pointed out earlier, it's very, very important that you create this group, because once we start opening up those expression boxes, sometimes they show up off your screen, which is very annoying and very difficult to select them. So now that I've created this group and I'm done with this contact with lava, I'm just going to go ahead and drag this up into the group as well. So if I need to, I can close this entire group down and then again have a very clean workspace to work with.